There are two kinds of hypocrites in this world. One, those who denounce FTV and see FTV in the night. And the second, those who always uphold female liberalism. And when his daughter or sister gets out, they say, why do you wear this tight dress? Go for a much more relaxed dress. So if there are only two choices of being a hypocrite, I would like to be the former one and not the latter one.
FTV.
No, I would like my sister, mother, and all the people I love to be moral, to be ethical, and I'm sure there will be no person in the world who is married, who has a good sister, who has a good relationship with her, who has good friends, who will denounce ethics and morality.
I think in every marriage after a certain time, you say that the initial years are the honeymooning years, and then it starts really settling down that, okay, you are living with a different person who's probably as different as chalk and cheese than what you are. And I think the kind of everyone, whether it's the wife or the husband, they all are working today. In today's social economy, what we live in, it's very important that both the partners are working. So when you're working, the attractions are bound to happen. It's just that...
So that's his point, that the opportunities are more...
The opportunities are there, but then if you really believe in the institution of marriage, if bottom line to any relationship is how much of respect, I would say even love is next, how much of respect you have towards each other. If you really have respect towards your partner, I think whatever the attractions are, I think you know where to draw a line. I come from films, and my husband also comes in films, being a director and a hero. He's always thrown with most beautiful women around. So it's very easy to get attracted. But I know he knows where to draw a line. He knows that I have a wife and my children back home where I'm answerable to them, and I will not do anything to hurt them. So I think you should know. I also work, I meet all kind of people, all kind of men all over the world. But I know where to draw a line. I'm not going to say that, oh, I look at Kabir Baby and he doesn't excite me. No, it does. But then I know where to draw a line.
Thank you. Kaushalya, you better watch it. You're even closer to him than she is.
I always admire handsome guys.
Okay,
so there's no harm. There's no harm.
No,
as she said very rightly, you need to draw a line.
The attraction from afar is one thing, but you know what's also
hang on, what she's saying is that you can always get attracted to somebody, you can always find somebody, you know, good looking. Sure.
Right, baby.
You should know where to draw the line. Is that line weakening with time or no?
It's hard to say, but I would imagine the increased social mobility, with the increased interaction of people, with the increased confusion also in terms of values and belief systems, people would be far more tempted to cross that line. And if you look at the statistics, certainly in the Western world, a lot of people have crossed that line. Divorces are at an unprecedentedly high level, and also with the introduction of social media, all kinds of new forms of infidelity have started. If people can have deeply emotional relationships on the internet with a complete stranger, is that infidelity? That's a big question in terms of marriage. Would a husband accept that? What if they met? What if they didn't? All those things open up a whole, you know, Pandora's box of possibilities. Now, it's also interesting in terms of social media that 1 in 5 divorces are caused by social media, but 1 in 5 people meet and marry because of social media also. So there is a sort of counterbalancing effect as well.
Kaushalya, let me get you in on that.
When you're working with people, you do get attracted. That's how I got attracted to my husband too. That's how I proposed. But thereafter, I never did it to anyone, but I do admire.
No, I think you'll make a huge mistake if you mix the metaphors of morality and marriage. I think they need to be in two separate buckets, in two separate silos. Immorality it's not about the intensity of immorality. It's not about, you know, you being or lacking fidelity only if you're SMSing or BBMing people. I think the institution of marriage is no longer the way it used to be. Society has to come to terms with that change. That change has happened because society today gives less credence to two people living together in wedlock compared to two people living out of wedlock together. Now,
is that really the case you think across the board, or is it only in a section of society?
No.
Right? Is what he's saying? Is what he's saying?
No. It's not in the upper.
By and large, in India, a couple living out of wedlock would still be looked at as.
Yeah, they still look with some kind of sacredness and sanctity, and we should, you know, see the philosophical premise here. The question is the kind of related. No, I'm saying people living inside marriage are still considered somewhat pure and approachable by many sections of society, especially the middle class and the lower middle class. What we are talking about
is what you're saying, maybe only a certain section where it's fine.
Please go through the research figures if you talk about violence against women, it is most engendered in the weakest and in the uppermost echelons. Now, let me tell you.
Violence is a different issue.
No, it's
Violence
not.
is a different issue. The
It's
question
not.
is whether whether people living out of wedlock would be more accepted.
Marriage is not about morality, it's about respect. No. It's about respecting
That's a
the
convenient term to cover up. That's a convenient term to denounce
tell the
morality.
priest to let me finish this thing, argument. I think the reality is as follows. Marriage, to my mind, from the outside looking in, is about respect, about mutual understanding, and it's about respecting the confines of that relationship within society. That's the general trend of marriage. Today, a lot of people believe that they don't need that respect quotient from society, which binds them in what you and I formally refer to as marriage. Therefore, marriage as a concept may exist and may be pure and may be loved by a lot of people. But please don't decry people who are living together as harmoniously, as respectfully, but have not confined themselves to what you and I call marriage.
Fine.
That's the essential argument.
I mean, Kabir, that's the point of view, but at the end of the day, the historical reason of it is also to give a certain structure and a societal structure to childbearing, where both the man and the woman are feeling, in a sense, equally involved in the child-rearing process.
You just talked about the story of my life, in effect. Pratima and I got together, and we lived together, and we were very happy living together. And of course, at that time, you're talking of the late 60s, it was banner for the media. I mean, there were newspaper and articles, magazine articles saying they lived together. This was huge news. Today, living together isn't that much huge news. After a number of marriages, I'm now living together with my companion, Parveen. We have a wonderful relationship. We are not in a hurry to get married. And let me say, according to the judgments of the Supreme Court of India, she has as many rights as a wife would after 5 years of being together and publicly making it public. She is not denied any of those rights. So unless we choose to have children and give them the security, which is what Pratima and I did, we only married because of children. In this case, there's no need to have children or no decision so far to have children. Therefore, we're not in a hurry to get married.
So let me get all of your views on that. There's no great advantage of marriage over living in sin, as it once used to be called, other than if you have children. Would you agree with that?
Actually, you're right to some extent, because if you see my relationship with my husband, the law doesn't accept me as a second wife. And my child is legitimate, because I think the law does accept her as his child. But the question is, I'm not craving, our family is not craving for security or legitimacy. We're only living because we appreciate each other, we respect each other. So that is what we are. Actually, more than anything, we love dance. That is what is binding us together.
But
so
let me just ask you the question that if the law doesn't recognize it, why did you take the decision to get married as opposed to just saying, look, we can have an arrangement without getting married?
I didn't care. I was in love. I just wanted to be with the person I loved. And I'm happy till now. God bless me.
God bless you.
Dr. Mehdi, let me get to that. I mean, first of all, this concept that there's no great difference to somebody living outside marriage than in marriage, unless it's with the child.
I think courtship has always, because sex and marriage have consequences, one of them is children, they've always had a lot of ceremony around it and binding. So I think marriage is a contract which you enter, and sexual exclusivity is a part of that contract. Now, whether it's biological sex, the act of sex, or desire, now in marriage there is a reasonable demand, and like all relationships, an unreasonable demand. I think to demand sexual exclusivity from your partner is reasonable. To demand that she or he will have no desire for anybody else is romantic, is ridiculous really. And when morality is imposed,
so you're saying fine, you can find somebody really attractive or handsome or
and appreciate
but,
what she said or he said.
But you're not going to actually do anything about it.
You can smell the fly, you don't have to eat it.
Smell the fly, but don't eat it.
And at least don't get. I think desire and sex and marriage has to be, I mean, and love, for that matter, are not corollaries to each other. Okay. They're not.
Khushbu, you know I want to toss this question to you. Khushbu is looking at me with that expression saying, I know he's going to turn to me next, and I am, because I have rarely come across anybody who got into so much trouble for talking about premarital sex as you did. There are probably a lot of people who indulged in it who didn't get into that much trouble. So what's your view on that? I mean, at the end of the day, is that one of the things which has also been associated with marriage? That look, if you really want to get up to you know, if you want to have sex, get married and then do it. That's what parents have told their children from time immemorial.
You cannot tell the kids today you tell them that you're 18, you're ready to vote, choose your government. You tell them and say that, okay, you're not supposed to have sex till you don't get married. I think it's so easily accessible for them. You know, I always insist that it's high time we start coming up with sex education in schools because the kids are much more faster. So I think you have to make them understand the importance. I'm not giving the importance of virginity. No, I'm not doing that. I think it all depends on individual mindset as to whether they want to remain virgin till they get married or not. I had a live-in relationship with my husband for 5 years before we got married. But then we were very sure that we are going to get married. And my husband had little ideas as to he wanted to buy a house and then get married and say that I have made enough of money to give you the luxuries what you're used to. So I think we waited for 5 years, but we were absolutely fine, happy. Everyone knew that we are living together. And there was wonderful harmony, and I think it's been 17 years since we have been together, 12 years of married life, and I think it's beautiful living today.
So can I ask you which of the two phases was better?
I think being married.
Being married is better than when you were living together?
Definitely being married.
Why? Because of more security or because you've got more comfort in the relationship?
No comfort.
A lot of actually married couples will tell you that after a certain time, the relationship gets better and better because you get more at ease with each other. And more comfortable and you sort out.
You get used to it, so therefore you don't discard it.
No, it's not about getting used to it.
It's not just about getting used to it. I think sometimes the relationship and the understanding can improve at times.
No, I think, you know, you reach a beautiful phase when you understand, you start finishing each of the sentences. You don't have to say what you want to say, but you just look at you and you understand what you want to say and understand.
But so it's not just about being a used sock. It's also sometimes that the understanding can actually improve with more time.
And I'm not being facetious when I say this. Look at the marriage that you have, which is of equal respect. I mean, your wife is far more talented than you are, and you come to terms with it so often. So I think it's about, as I said, complementarity. It's about mutuality. Ultimately, it's about two individuals. If she is happy leading the life she is, if he is happy leading the life he is, if he's happy interrupting people as he is, to each his own.
He's interrupted you far less often than you interrupted him.
I'm just joking.
And if somebody is happy commenting about marriage without even trying marriage, he is also free to do it.
As I told you,
and always listen, it is easy to criticize and condemn a thing without experiencing it.
Let me give you a lasting quote. You don't have to be a chef to know the dish tastes right.
But you have to be a chef to know how to make it.
You have to be a chef to know how to make it. Answer him.
To make it for us.
You finally got a match. Can I get you? No, I have had you there. I've finally found a match for Sohail Seth. I can't believe it.
I would always like to say, see, marriage is a very deeper, it's about an emotional connect. Sure. As the time goes, we get better emotionally connected. We have some kind of, if I can use the word spiritual or emotional connection with the other person. So it gets better with the day. There are some absolute values, some unchangeable values of human life. And it's very easy position to defend relativism because it's the easiest position to argue from. You can easily win and say that it's all individual, it's all depends on people to people. But the reality is there are some ethical values in human life, and always remember, monogamous marriage is the single most successful institution in the human history. We have tried polygamy, polyandry, communal living. We have humanity have tried almost all kinds of things. But this monogamous living has some special connect, has that emotional connect that it will definitely survive. Of course, it's going through changes, but it will
Five people
survive.
looking at you who are... Okay, hang on. One second. Is there something special and sacrosanct about monogamous relationships and marriage? Monogamous marriage. Is there something special and sacrosanct about it? Quick, yes or no?
Yes.
Sohail.
I will know.
If you ask him yes or no, he'll say
I won't know. Today's world has become increasingly independent to decide and chart its own destinies. That independence must be respected. You cannot cloak it and crouch it under a hidden dragon, which is called an institution, which we see is crumbling around us.
Okay, Kaushalya, is there something special and sacrosanct about monogamous marriage?
Yes.
There is.
There is.
Even though you're not in one of those relationships,
I'm not in it.
but you still think there's something. Kabir?
Obviously, there's something beautiful about a monogamous relationship that works. However, the options...
Monogamous marriage that works. That's what
a monogamous marriage that works is also wonderful. As wonderful as a monogamous relationship that works. But the options are many and should not be disrespected either.
One sentence. For a difference, I will agree with Sri Sohail, saying that independence is great. But always remember, interdependence is greater.
Okay.
I think monogamy is not synonymous with marriage. In fact, monogamy is very new. Anybody who could afford more than one partner had it right up to last generation. And in the current form, monogamy